Hello everyone, and thanks again for taking the time to watch this video. First of all, wow. I just surpassed 1,000 followers on YouTube. And if you would have told me this just like 3.5 months ago when I started this YouTube channel, I would not have believed you. So huge thanks for taking the time to watch my videos, to give me feedback, to comment, etc. And yeah, really excited to see where all of this is going. But for now, I'll continue with what I have been doing these last couple of weeks, and that is my game plan and gameplay series. So today we again want to look into Kayo Underhanded Cheat, playing against Rhinar, but not the old Rhinar, but like kind of the new Rhinar, the Rhinar with the Armory Deck upgrades, right? So the Armory Deck is just releasing this week, and so there already have been quite a few people playing the Armory Deck itself or upgraded Rhinar lists with the Armory Deck cards on Talishar. And so I've been able to play against a few, so I'm happy to share my thoughts in terms of like the game plan. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at some of the most likely key cards that the Armory Deck is offering for players to kind of like up their game. I think the biggest question right now still, like in terms of the equipment, is that actually like worth taking? And most likely the one that is the most powerful right now in many cases is, for one, the Torque of Vim. Whenever you beat chest, you may destroy this. If you do, the next brute attack action card you play this turn costs 2 less to play. And while obviously Savage Sash is probably even better, I think in Rhinar, this can actually be quite powerful, because Rhinar oftentimes does not have like the super go wide turns as, for example, Kayo has, because Rhinar often plays more of like a mid-range game plan. And in their talk of them can most likely actually be quite powerful. And then in terms of like other cards that are very powerful, one is definitely Bear Destruction. So first of all, we need to say that there are lots more options to beat chest, so to discard card to get powerful effects based of that, but also to trigger Rhinar's Intimidate ability. And especially for decks that want to block a lot, like Kayo Underhanded Cheat, for example, or can block a lot, that can actually pose some difficult questions we need to answer. And so Bear Destruction reads, when this attacks, if you've beaten chest this turn and you don't control a chest equipment, this gets go again, and the next brute attack action card you play this turn gets +2. So that is actually like a very powerful effect. And then also what I found interesting here, well, I think Bear Swing can be like a good addition in many cases, depending on like how much you actually want to beat chest. But I've seen a lot of lists play Smell Fear, because this allows you to beat chest, then intimidate. And obviously by discarding this, you already intimidate. So this is kind of like a double intimidate. And because of that, this actually already gets +3. And then in the blue version, I think it is +2. Yeah, correct. And then the other card that I've seen a lot of lists already playing is Alpha Instinct. It's a blue 6 that is great for any draw discard abilities, but also when this is discarded to beat chest, create a might token, right? So a good option to increase the power of some of the attacks that Rhinar is swinging. Okay, so just a very quick overview about this. Probably like we can talk way more about like the equipment, but I'm not the Rhinar main, so I'll leave that to some people that actually play Rhinar a lot more, but I want to play against Rhinar. So let's take a quick look at the game plan. As probably every other deck that plays against Rhinar, I want to go first. Like, I don't want to give Rhinar the option to use turn 0 to intimidate me and yeah, deny my block value. If that happens on a later turn, I can try to play around that. But I mean, on turn 0, because I'm drawing up, there is the option for me to just like block with my full hand. And that is what I want to do, right? So going first is definitely the right choice against Rhinar, I would say. Also, as with probably every other matchup, against Rhinar, it's also very important to get a live lead early, Rhinar oftentimes is a very mid-rangey deck, so wants to attack a bit, wants to block a bit, and that is also our game plan as Kayo Underhanded Cheat with most of the hands. And my attacks, our attacks, only become like really efficient if we are in life lead. And so, especially if we start turn 0, I think it's totally fine to roll scabs and ideally send 2 attacks to get over the block that Rhinar can pose to us, because he also plays oftentimes a few like 2 blocks, there are some 0 blocks. And so yeah, ideally we can get over that block, and then all of a sudden Mocking Blow and Big Bully, etc. are live. Then one of the key cards that we have is Scowling Flashback. And I would say in some cases, it can actually be even more powerful than against Kayo. Oftentimes, if you play against Kayo and they swing their claw after a blood rush, and then you scowling flashback, they often have a lot of choices to still send a lot of damage. But I think against Rhinar, if they don't play around this and you use the scowling flashback in exactly the perfect time, then this can have devastating effects on Rhinar, and they oftentimes need to stop their full turn or just send a claw for 3, put something that they don't want in their arsenal into their arsenal. So yeah, thinking about how to use Scowling Flashback here is very essential. So typically I would block with my other equipment first in order to get or maintain my life lead, and then use Scowling when it really becomes powerful. All right, so much for the game plan. I think it's a game plan that many other decks would play in the same way against Rhinar. But let's take a look at one of my most recent games against Rhinar. All right, so the option for me was to go first, so I took this, and I do have a very full Mocking Blow hand. And so I just roll scabs, and here I'm super lucky. I roll a 6, so I can send 3 attacks. So first thing I want to do is to send the Mandible Claw, pitching the Flex Strength because that requires too many resources from me right now. So I get a 3 block here. And now I can actually play 2 red Mocking Blows. The first one obviously will not get the buff because I'm not on higher life. But here Rhinar now needs to decide, do they think I have it? Like, do they think I have another blue? Do they give me 6 block? Do they give me 3 block? Do they give me no block? Because they still need to expect another attack. And so here Rhinar does probably the wrong thing, which is just blocking 3. And so I can use the ability from Kayo Underhanded Cheat, push this to 6, so I'm 3 life ahead. And now I can still send the other Mocking Blow. That only comes in for 5. So yes, it could technically become more valuable later if I have a blue and another resource to pitch into it. But coming in for 5 and creating a vigor for my next turn, I think is the right choice here. Maybe Rhinar does not want to block with that. Maybe there's a Blood Rush or 2. Maybe there is an Alpha Instinct that doesn't block. And so in theory, I could already push him down quite a bit, or Rhinar needs to give me equipment if they don't want to fall behind here. And so they actually do want to give me some equipment here, blocking 4, so taking 1. And yeah, we're fine with that. We have a life lead of 4. And now next turn, we actually have some cards to work with in order to maintain this life lead. And so they actually play Smell Fear. So they beat Chest, they discard a Sea Legs, they create the Gold Kiss Rum, and now they intimidate me twice. So their next attack will come in for 2 more, and we have 2 cards intimidated. Luckily, our hand is structured in a way that we can still block with the cards that we have in hand. And yeah, also come in for some damage. So here we actually use our equipment already. Show Strength plus Apex gives us a Might. So we do have the option to still stay ahead in life and now be able to use all 3 cards in our hand, right? So we can discard the outside interference here. And for example, select the Big Bully for our next turn, or send it now and send Show of Strength in this turn. But I decide to send Big Bully. First of all, it now comes in for 9. I mean, yes, Show of Strength would have as well, but we create a resource. We also have Tunic up next turn, so Show of Strength would be for free basically. But with 2 resource floating, Rhinar also needs to expect that we might be able to push this up to not only 12, but to 13. And that would already put them down to 23, up to 38. That would be quite a live lead. And so here, Rhinar is testing it out a little bit, actually blocking 9 in total, but also giving me already 2 more blocks on the equipment. So they should be out of equipment block pretty soon. My next hand is very nice. Again, I have the sink below to block with if it doesn't get intimidated. And then I also have like 6 resources to come in with a big bully for the full value. And so Mandible Claw comes in for 4 here because of the might that they have generated last turn. And now we just cover this up with a sink below. They've actually pitched a Blood Rush Bellow, which is interesting. So that might be a sign that there's another Blood Rush Bellow maybe in their arsenal. Or I don't know what else, what other reason that could be in order to pitch this. Or maybe the other one was a red and they wouldn't have been able to attack at all otherwise. Because the other 2 cards that they blocked with the previous turn were also reds. And so yeah, Big Bully coming in for 12 now. They did not block and we can push this up to 12 and still have the Show of Strength in Arsenal. Obviously, Show of Strength, not the best attack against Rhinar or any brute, because most likely they will have 6 or more power attacks in order to block this to get the negative value for me. So I put Nimblism as the bottom card because I don't want to draw this. I only want to get this from Nimby. And here actually is 1 Blood Rush that they are playing. Actually, this one is from hand, so they might still have 1 in Arsenal because, as mentioned, they pitched the other one last turn. They don't now, but they used their head to, yeah, okay, wow, intimidate me again. So 2 cards already intimidated. Unfortunately, it's the sink below that's intimidated, but also a blue, which I could use for the Show of Strength. They do have the other Blood Rush, but they've drawn into it. It wasn't the card in the arsenal. So within just 4 turns, they've drawn all Blood Rushes while still pitching 1. So this is definitely a turn where I would love to block with my full hand, but can't. And so they sent the Bear Destruction. And in response to playing the Bear Destruction, they destroy their chest equipment for Bear Destruction to get go again, and their next brute attack to be reduced by 2. So there's no real value for me to use Scowling Flashback here because they already have the resources they need, and probably the card in Arsenal is the attack that they want to send. So here comes in for 10. I need to take that. It doesn't make sense for me to block much here with the equipment. I can use that later. And there comes a swing big for 14. So taking this will bring me down to 14. I have a full hand to work with, which actually does not convert quite well because of the cards that I've drawn. So what I want to do here is definitely play the booze. And then, yeah, I mean, I could think about rolling Scab Skins here, or I just like send either the Show Strength or the Nimby. I definitely want to put the sink below into Arsenal, ideally, in order to have this to block. But right now, after this insane double Blood Rush turn, I'm down to 14 already. They are up at 24. So definitely need to make something happen here in order to still win this. So as expected, they block Show Strength with 2 6-power cards so that it doesn't deal any damage. They also add the Apex because 1 is a Buckward, which only blocks for 2, so they get the Might. And they have 2 cards to work with for their next turn. I put Sink below in Arsenal, still have the Steel Victory. But unfortunately, the Might pops now, so I can't make use of it. So there is the Mandible Claw, and I can cover that pretty easily with one of my D-Reacts that I have in hand. I mean, I have a Vigor, I have the Steel Victory, so I could come in with a Mocking Blow, but I'm not in life lead, so there's not that much that I can actually do. But I'll get booed. So yes, Mocking Blow is coming in, as always, just generating 1 less Vigor. So yeah, blocking here with a Shelter is fine, keeping the Sink for a later turn because I can work with this hand. So playing Mocking Blow, it will come in for 8, and then afterwards I can still discard the Agile Windup, and that way generate an agility token for my next turn. So I pitch the Steel Victory into Kayo. I discard Agile Windup. So coming in for 8, having both a Vigor and an Agility for my next turn. And Tunic is still up. They are down to 16, but they operate with a full 5-card hand. Actually, my hand is kind of nice. I mean, the good thing is I have a Vigor and a Tunic. So I could block with 1 card in my hand, and then still use E-Strike coming in for 7, go again because of the agility, and then with Tunic and Vigor swing the Swing Big for 8. I do have the D-React in Arsenal, and I also have, well, 1 card to block with, which would now be the give and take. And here, I actually think it's the right moment to use Scalding Flashback, right? They don't have resources floating, so if they have an attack and a resource card in hand, this way I would only allow them to swing with their claw, which is 3 more damage. I'm covering this up for 9, so I would go down to 11, but would swing back with quite a lot of damage, 15 if I've counted it correctly now. So that could actually pivot the game a bit around. And as mentioned in the game plan up front, sometimes the way you get them intimidated with Scalding Flashback leaves them with a suboptimal card in Arsenal. So I bet they would have still wanted to only send the Claw, depending on what I have banished, or send the Send Packing, but I didn't have anything in Arsenal anymore, so less value. But Send Packing would have definitely been a good Arsenal target for them. So let's take a look at what they put in Arsenal now once we see it. And so here, my game plan doesn't change. I mean, I'm 5 life behind, but I now send 15, which is almost lethal for them. And I still have 3 more equipment block than they have. So here, E-Strike coming in for 7, go again. And then afterwards, we send the Swing Big. Okay, they take the E-Strike, so they go down to 9. Now using Tunic resource and the Floating Vigor resource for Swing Big for 8. And interestingly, they block with 3 cards: Blue Pummel, Bonebreaker, Bellow, and a Strongest Survive in yellow. So they get the Quicken Chicken. And my hand is okay, depending on what they do. I could pitch the Overcrowded into the Looking for a Scrap, 5 go again, and then Claw for 3, so 8 damage, plus the Sigil of Solace would be 11, and then just park the Pummel in my arsenal. They just pass turn because it seems they don't want to waste the Quicken Chicken token. I can understand that, because with a 5-card hand and a Quicken Chicken, they can definitely go quite wide. But first of all, they don't need to die. They don't know it yet, but they can't. I don't have enough damage in my hand here because I can't use the Pummel anywhere. So they will survive with 1 life one way or the other. But I'm also going up to 14. So yeah, need to most likely block a bit next turn, depending on like how wide they can go. But first of all, they go down to 4 life, probably thinking, okay, they can still block the second chain link, and it's only a claw, so eventually they don't need to block. Not sure if they would be wary about what's the D-React, the Brute D-React called? I forgot it. Reckless Swing. But I mean, I can't play this as Kayo Underhanded Cheat. There are just like too few 6-power attacks in my deck. So yeah, they take 3, they go down to 1. I use the Sigil, go up to 14, and now put the Pummel in Arsenal. So in theory, I would need to keep, like if I draw like a CNC or something, I actually need to keep 3 cards ideally in order to play CNC or any other 8-attack Pummel. So in theory, I could only block with my Sink Below here. And here we see what we intimidated earlier, which is the Beast Within, which I think is good, right? That was a good use of Flashback. Not the best, no question, but Beast Within is probably one of the cards you don't want to have in Arsenal. It costs you 3 to send 6, and it's the card that you want to discard here. So first of all, we block 5 here to only take 1 damage, go down to 13. And now there's the question, what do they send next? Do we actually need to interact with that? They have the go again from the Quicken Chicken. Okay, they send a Sand Packing for 6, and that is actually a problem, because I can't really block this. And I could have. So I shouldn't have blocked the first chain link here. I should have just taken that damage and wait if they sent Disruption. Because now I need to say goodbye to my Pummel. and that definitely changes things. I still have a good turn, right? I can use Mandible Claw, use Outside Interference, then still come in with a Command and Conquer. But if I would have kept the Sink Below, I could have blocked with, and not blocked with the Scab Skins. I could have just blocked Scab Skins, Apex, and then used the Sink Below, and then I could come in for way more, right? I could come in for Claw, pitching the Sirens, discard the Outside Interference, get the blue, and then still come in for Command and Conquer plus Pummel. That would have been 100% the victory, I guess. Even now, being at 7 life, then being at 1, me going like 2 chain links, what I present at least 9 damage. So if they have good blocks in hand, this goes 1 turn longer. But I definitely feel like I have an advantage also with like 2 blocks left on my armor pieces. And they now need to block almost everything. So maybe they send back Claw, but much more it can't be. So here, discarding Outside Interference, getting the blue Bask in Your Own Greatness for resources, and then sending the Command and Conquer for 6. So they block for 6, and we go into our next turn. Oh, okay. And this is a good hand. I mean, Sigil for 2 more life. I can use Steel Victory for looking for a scrap, and then also Tunic plus the last resource from Steel Victory for Claw. So I definitely come in for 13 damage here. So if they don't have a D-React, this game is won. Luckily, I exactly have 2 1-power attacks in my graveyard, so I can use +1 and go again for both looking for a scrap. But this looks devastating for my opponent here. Also because the breakpoints are tough to block. They always need to overblock here. So there's almost, if they don't have a D-React, there's no world that they can still win this. So here goes the other looking for a scrap. And I think now it already dooms to my opponent that this is probably game over. It seems that they only block with a 0 block, Alpha Instinct. So I still get the value out of Sigil, go up to 9. And now it is GG. Yes, it is GG. They had a 0 block in Arsenal. They had a Pummel in hand. They had a Pummel in Arsenal. Yeah, but they actually were playing quite a few cards from the Armory deck, the chest equipment, and then some of the attacks, but also mixed up it well with like Tear Limb from Limb, obviously Blood Rush, Bellows, Sea-Lag. So this looks like a decent list for sure. I mean, they had this one very powerful Blood Rush turn, but yeah, I mean, Kayo Underhanded Cheat is super powerful. So let's take a quick look at the review. So I think I used the flashback in the right moment of this game. Obviously, I would have loved to use it during the double Blood Rush turn, but there was just not an opening because my opponent didn't have any cards in hand left when they were attacking. So I prevented 3 damage with using the flashback here and also forced them to put the Beast Within into Arsenal, which definitely was not the ideal card. They probably would have wanted the sand packing there. But yeah, ultimately, flashback could have generated way more value. Me going first was absolutely the right decision, and also to roll Scabbies. I can only recommend that if your hand allows for it, just roll Scabbies turn 0. I mean, usually they block with a full hand anyway, so by rolling it, even if it's a 1, you allow them to not filter. But the upside, if you roll like 2 or even 3 action points, can be so high as seen in this game. So definitely do this. You will ideally get a life lead, and then the game becomes much easier. But I think this game showed quite well how you can claw back if you, well, obviously draw okay-ish, but then also block in a fashion that it allows you to like change the course of the game. I mean, I was down by what, like 12 life at one point, or even more after the double Blood Rush turn. But I think KO, RKO, Underhanded Cheat can have does have a lot of options to like really claw back into the game. Cool. So that was the game. Excited about the Rhinar Armory deck for every Rhinar player. Again, thanks so much for subscribing to the channel, watching the videos. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Would mean a lot to me. I would really love to maybe get a spoiler card at one point in the future in the next year or whatever. So probably getting more followers would be helpful with that. So thank you so much. Take care and see you in the next video. Bye bye.